Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is Plainkiller 01, and as you can see, we are currently flying out the P63A-10. This plane is a lot of fun, War Thunder. I don't know why it's still 4.0. This is easily a 4.3, maybe a 4.7 aircraft. I would say even on the realms of the BF-109 G6 in terms of performance. And at down tier, this aircraft is nasty. Simply because it basically outperforms every single aircraft the enemy team. It turns with most things, aside from the British and Japanese. I would be careful about some Russian aircraft though. It outclimbs mostly everything, even Yak 3s. Let's see, it's the fastest plane at its BR, especially on the deck, and it solves all the issues that the earlier P-39 Aerocobras had. Now granted, it's not as maneuverable as the old P-39, nor does it have as much guns depending on the variant. But what it makes up for in the King Cobra's name is potency. And if you don't know what a King Cobra is, it's one of the most venomous snakes on the planet. With a 37mm cannon shooting from an A-10 variant of the 37, it's not only more accurate, higher velocity, but also has almost double the amount of ammo from the P-39 and previous P-36 model, going up from a staggering 30 to 58 rounds. Yeah, that's a lot of firepower. Now, usually I would actually go over the match in these sort of videos, but what I wanted to highlight something on this video particularly was the history of this aircraft, as it's one of the few aircraft that I'm aware of where the home front designers, well, sorry, its home nation actually rejected it, but it got to be served in another front. The King Cobra was developed in the 44-45 era. Sorry, 43 to 44 era, from the company known as Bell. And the U.S. Army Air Corps actually rejected this aircraft, not because it was a bad aircraft by any means. It was actually, for the time, quite an amazing aircraft. Had all the creature comforts, it had heating, had actually even automatic fuel mixtures and coolant systems, unlike most other aircraft at the time. And it also fixed the high altitude performance that the earlier King Cobra and the Aerocobras faced. The reason this aircraft was actually denied wasn't because it was bad, but because the Army Air Corps already had something that could do the job perfectly well enough, that being the P-51 Mustang. And everyone says it won the war. Not really. Sorry guys. Probably for another video. And that's the same reason actually why the P-47 got demoted from a heavy escort aircraft to a ground attack aircraft. Not because it was bad at the job, but because it better suited a different role. That the P-51 was better suited at the previous role, if that makes any sense. What I'm saying is the P-51 was better escorting the P-47. That's why the P-47 got put to ground attack. Now, the nation that this aircraft actually went to was Russia during the Lend-Lease program. The Russians actually love this plane. They actually considered it a luxury. I guess they're driving Honda Civics from 2010 and suddenly they're given 2025 Volkswagens or Mercedes. They're like, oh my god, all the creature comforts, all the features, this thing is amazing. But it wasn't just creature comforts that they loved about the aircraft. It was a 37mm cannon they loved. It was a heavy hitter. They would use it against bombers, against ground forces. They would use it to escort, to intercept, everything. This thing was a very jack of all trades, and the radios really helped them coordinate their attacks on enemy forces. Now, the Soviets actually sent an ace and an engineer to Bell to help work on the P-63. Let me find his name real quick. Where is his name? Where are you? So the test pilot they sent there was Andrei G. Kotetkov. I'm butchering that. I apologize. And the engineer they sent was Fyodor P. Supran. And they sent directly to the Bell factory early of '44. And the reason they were sent was because the Russian Air Force loved the aircraft so much from the Aerocobras to the first P-63 because, oh my gosh, hold on. Alright, sorry, brain fart. And so they sent this test pilot, Ace, by the way, and his engineer over to Bell, was to help merge the King Cobra to better fit what Russia needed at the time. Now, funnily enough, the U.S. Army Air Force was like, hey, Russia, don't use these King Cobras over in Europe. I want you to use them against Japan. I don't know the reason behind this, but it probably had something to do so they had enough aircraft, high-performance aircraft to deal with Japan in case they needed it, whereas Germany was on its last legs. However, there are several reports of both from German and Russian sources saying that the P63 did fight on the Eastern Front in Europe. Some of these reports being aces, and the leading theory is that to appease diplomats, they faked the paperwork to say P39s instead of P63s. Which, I mean, that would be a pretty scary thought to see a P63 and a 1-9 in real life. That would be insane. I'm going by the War Thunder performance here. I could be completely wrong. War Thunder is not exactly a simulator for all intents and purposes. It is a game after all. But anyways, that's basically the basic overview of the P63. Now, in War Thunder, as I said, it's an amazing aircraft. One of the best BR for BR. I would actually feel fully comfortable with upturning it to 4.7, which I think at one point it was 4.7. Or the C5 was. I don't know, but most American aircraft are actually very under-tiered, and it's very annoying, because sometimes I'm just like, I'm bored. Anyways, now that we're done with the history, we're doing now, looks like we're just cleaning up. Most of this match was actually spent running. Running because there was a Key 44 in the match going to space and just chasing me down. Yeah, super duper annoying. That K-44 needs to be higher because it performs so damn well and it's actually quite ridiculous. Now, early in the video, one trick I will emphasize in English is that if you're below a Russian aircraft, specifically a Yak, this doesn't work so well on Lavochkins. Especially if you're in a higher speed plane like the P63, and they're diving on you from way up there, dive down too. I know you're not supposed to technically give up your energy, but there's a trick to this. If they don't quite know how the airframe's limits, they will actually rip their wings if they try to pull with you. So force them into a high speed dive, make yourself faster, but not too fast, otherwise they're not going to gate on you, and then just yank on the stick. And they may be dumb enough to, rip their wings off. It's actually quite hilarious. I'm not going to lie. And one of the great perks of this plane is that it's fast enough to where if you don't want to engage somebody, you really don't have to. Like, there's a Yak 9 a few kilometers out, and he's not going to catch me. Even if he dove on me, I would just put it in a -5, -10 degree dive, and eventually I would be outrunning him. Not that hard, actually. Here I'm getting some altitude. I want this Yak 9 to actually go for the PBJ. It's kind of a dick move, but if you're going to use your teammates as bait, I mean, if you have to, you might as well, because they're just RPing you at the end of the day, and if it puts you in an advantage to possibly help your teammate, do it. We're gonna go head on with this Yak 9, and I can English, and we're just gonna 37 him in the face. I believe we took out his engine. I'm honestly not sure. The cooling system, yeah, took out his engine, and we're just gonna put it into a climb. And he will actually be the last kill of the match. And I hope you guys enjoyed the little educational spiel I wanted to take about the P63 and it's a cool little story on how it affected Russian aircraft development usage in the eastern front of Europe, and how they actually kept this plane up until 1952 in service, by the way. This has been Plane Killer. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. Bye bye.